Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our third Mindfulness Mondays. I'm Christine Kennedy, and I work in the Office of Alumni Advancement. And I'm pleased to be joined by Shrey Vazir, who is the founder of Mind Body Horizons. And today is 5 Senses Open Awareness Meditation. So you don't want to hear from me. I'm just going to pass it right to Shrey. Thanks, Shrey.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine, for the warm welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining on this wonderful Monday evening. Today, we'll be practicing a meditation called 5 Senses Open Awareness. So before we get into the meditation, I do want to share my screen for a quick, brief intro into it, and we'll get right into it. So give me 1 second here while I set that up. Perfect. Hope you can all see that. So just to quickly define mindfulness before we get into the 5 senses meditation, just as a reminder, mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Today's focus is going to be on the present moment section of this definition, where we're actually going to use our 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, and our sense of touch, all of those to bring us to the present moment, not the past or the future. So for the next 15-20 minutes while you're here in this meditation session, fully be here if you can. There's going to be 3 main parts usually, and 3 main steps that I'd like to ask you to follow as you do this meditation or any meditation session in general. Number 1 is to observe and just notice what's coming towards you. So we'll use our 5 senses today. Just try to not shut off anything. Just let everything come to you in an open, curious way. Step number 2 is, in your mind, just labeling whatever you are sensing, whether it be a sound, what you see, what you feel, what you smell or taste, any thoughts you have, any emotions that you might have, just labeling them. And then number 3 is trying not to react to it, trying not to judge whatever that it may be, and also accepting that for whatever it is. And whenever your mind starts to wander at any point, you just come back to these 3 steps over and over and over. And that's what will ultimately cultivate the benefits that come from mindfulness. You know, we talk about stress reduction, improvements in sleep, in your mental health, your physical health. There's just lots of benefits that we've touched upon in our previous sessions. Just to remind you again, there are 2 ways of mindfulness: formal and informal. Today, we're actually going to do a mix of both, formal practice and informal. We're going to be doing a formal meditation, and then I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of homework until our next session. And that'll be an informal mindfulness practice of using your senses in everyday life. So like I said, welcome to 5 Senses, Open Meditation Awareness. I want to share a quick 2 quotes that I have actually, and then we'll get right into it. There's no enlightenment outside of daily life. And I love this quote because it brings you an awareness of our day-to-day lives, our mundane tasks that we might do without really considering or without being really curious about what we're feeling or sensing. For example, if you're brushing your teeth or showering, how often are you fully present while you're doing that act? Most of us, including myself, I'm usually thinking about what I need to do for that day, making a to-do list in my mind or on my phone as I'm while I'm eating, for example, or if I'm driving. So trying to find the simple pleasures in our life. I'm going to be using the 5 senses, like I'd mentioned. And another quote here: don't ignore the 5 senses in search of a 6th. So we're going to be doing a very basic form of mindfulness meditation today. So let's begin. And I do want to note that this sometimes works really well if you're outdoors, if you have access to maybe a balcony or a backyard or somewhere where maybe you can even open a window and maybe get a chance to feel the breeze listen to what's going on outside. It might work well for you. If not, you can still do it wherever you are right now. Okay, so I'll just give you a chance to settle down. And let's begin. So welcome to the 5 Senses Open Awareness Meditation. This meditation can be used to ground your mind and your body to the present moment, especially when you feel overwhelmed or overly stressed. During this meditation, rather than focusing on the breath or movements of our body, we will shift our attention to each of our senses, one at a time, becoming curious of what we are experiencing in the present moment, using our senses to notice things that we often overlook. We will also spend some time in open monitoring, allowing all that is happening around us to enter our mind without judgment. If the mind wanders at any time, just gently bringing your attention back to your breath or any of your 5 senses to ground you. Let's begin by getting into a comfortable position, sitting or lying, whichever is comfortable. Gently closing your eyes or keeping them open with a soft gaze. We'll begin with a few deep breaths, taking a deep inhale through the nose and a slow exhale through the nose or the mouth. One more deep inhale and a slow exhale all the way out. Now one more deep breath in and hold at the top. So in, hold, and a slow exhale out as you let all of the air out. One more deep inhale, hold at the top, and a slow exhale all the way out. And now returning your breath to its natural rhythm, trying not to change it in any way. We'll begin by shifting our attention to our ears and our senses of hearing. With your eyes gently closed, diverting your full attention to the sounds and the noises around you at this time. Noticing if there is any sound that grabs your attention, but also noticing any noises or sounds in the background that may be easily missed. Not judging any sounds as good or bad, just being with these sounds for a moment. Perhaps noticing subtle sounds like the ticking of a clock, perhaps the sound of traffic or cars in the distance, perhaps conversations in your house in the distant, maybe music, maybe noticing the sound of the wind if you're outside, or the brushing of the leaves, noticing any birds that are chirping, noticing what you are hearing currently. Maybe noticing the sound of the air as it travels in through your nostrils and out through your nose or mouth. Perhaps you don't hear anything specifically, or you may hear a general background humming. Maybe becoming aware of the silence around you if you're not hearing anything in specific. Whatever the case, and whatever you are hearing, just noticing these sounds for what they are, not judging them in any way. If your mind wanders, just gently coming back to this practice, to either your breath or through any sounds. And now shifting your focus to your second sense, your sense of touch. bringing your full focus to the different sensations around your body. Perhaps by starting with your hands, noticing where your hands meet the bed, the chair, your lap, wherever they may be. Maybe noticing any fabric of your clothes against your hands or arms, or noticing your clothes around your entire body that you may have not noticed. And perhaps noticing the contact of your feet against the floor, the sensation of your footwear or socks around your feet. Noticing how your feet may contact with the floor, the ground, the bed, wherever it may be. And becoming aware of how the ground is holding you up. Noticing how the chair may be holding you up. If you are outside, perhaps you may notice a gentle breeze or wind brushing past your skin. Noticing any other sensations in your body, around your skin, around your face, your hands, your fingers. Noticing any temperature changes throughout your body. If there is any warmth or coolness, any areas that are stiff or tight. Just being curious of whatever you are sensing in this moment. Not judging any sensations right now. If your mind wanders to any problems, any worries that you may have, just gently bringing your attention back to your sense of touch. And now shifting your attention to your sense of smell. Noticing if there are any aromas or smells in your room where you are. Perhaps perfume, perhaps the smell of any skin products. If you are outside, noticing the smell of the grass or leaves or flowers, noticing the smell of the earth. Perhaps you don't smell anything specifically at all, and that's also okay. If that is the case, just noticing the air as it enters your nostrils and as it exits the nostrils. Noticing how the air entering the nostrils is a bit cool and the air exiting the nostril is a bit warm. And then when you're ready, changing your focus of attention to your sense of taste. Focusing on the sensations of your tongue. Noticing if there are any specific tastes that capture your attention. Perhaps of the food you have recently eaten. Maybe the taste of your gum or mint. If you don't have any specific tastes, just noticing your tongue in your mouth, your saliva, or any other sensations that you may have. If your mind wanders at any point, gently bringing your attention to your sense of taste or your breath or any of the other 5 senses that may have hooked your attention. And now gently opening your eyes, and with a soft gaze, bringing your full focus to your sense of your sight and your eyes. Seeing what is in front of you as it is, without labeling any object or items in front of you, noticing any particular shapes that you see, any textures, any patterns, any vibrant colors that you noticed. But for this moment, using your sense of vision and bringing a sense of curiosity to whatever you are seeing in front of you. Perhaps noticing objects in your room or space that you may have not noticed before. Perhaps there is an object that has grabbed your attention that you may have not noticed with so much focus. Perhaps seeing objects as if you are seeing their shapes and colors for the first time. Maybe noticing any photos, any pictures in your environment. Noticing any room lights or the sunlight as it enters your eyes. But just for a few moments, diverting your full attention to your vision in your eyes. If your mind wanders at any point to any thoughts or any worries, any checklists that you may have, just gently bringing your full attention to your eyes or the noises and the sounds around you. And if your eyes were open, now gently closing them just for a few moments, and then expanding your attention to your entire body and all of your other senses. Letting any of your worries for the future or the past go, and bringing yourself fully to the present moment. Letting any and all of the sensations come to you without stopping them or resisting them, without judging them. Perhaps just gently labeling whatever you are sensing, maybe a sound, a smell, a taste, something that you feel with your hands or your feet. Now gently guiding your focus back to your breathing and bringing your awareness to your entire body as you feel the natural rhythm of the breath as it moves through the body. In and out. Noticing how the body expands as you breathe in and how it relaxes as you breathe out. Now, as we come to an end of this practice, sending a sense of gratitude for the different senses that allow us to perceive the world that we currently live in. Thanking each sense for how it enriches our lives in the way we interact with the world, and how each sense allows us to interact with things and the people that we love. Also reminding yourself that you can use this meditation practice at any time your mind feels overwhelmed or if your body feels tense. And reminding yourself that your breath and your 5 senses are always with you to ground yourself to the present moment. Now you may gently open your eyes, coming back to the room, coming back to this moment. Thank you for joining.
Sorry, Shrey, are you going back to your PowerPoint, or should we open it up for questions?
Sure, let me go back and we can open it up to the questions as well. 1 second. Maybe for the time being, just reflecting on how that meditation went for you and thinking of any questions that you may have as I figure this out here. Yeah, so I actually wanted to quickly share this screen with you right here. I hope you can see that. So what we did right now was a formal meditation practice called 5 senses and open awareness, but you can do this in your day-to-day life as well in an informal way. And this is called grounding yourself with your 5 senses. So what you would do essentially is, let's say you're out in a park or you're somewhere, or you might just be working or in your day-to-day life, and you start to feel kind of overwhelmed, start to feel maybe a bit stressed. You feel your heart racing, or your body is just very, very tense. Then you can use a practice like this where you would go through these 5 things. So, noticing 5 things you can see around you in your room, right? So any objects, any textures, patterns like we went through today, and then 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. And this kind of sequence actually allows your mind and your body to fully come back to the present. And I've seen lots of my clients resonate with this mindfulness exercise as well. Another mini mindfulness exercise that you can do in your day-to-day life. So yeah, consider that. Maybe the next time you're brushing your teeth, maybe when you're eating something, really seeing your food like you're looking at it for the first time, maybe noticing smells or textures of the food that you may have not noticed before, or maybe you've taken it for granted, right? So it's a wonderful practice that I often do, especially when I'm eating, because you can really, really engage all of the senses. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think it's time for any questions.
So we do have a few questions, although I think you started to answer one. So the question is, how can you integrate this into daily practice, either formally or informally?
Yes. So both, like I'd mentioned, there's 2 ways, right? So the formal way is what we did right now. So going through while you're doing a meditation practice. So either a guided one or one that you're doing by yourself, spending 10 minutes to go through each sensation or senses as you go about it. Or the informal way is during everyday activities. So it could be, like I said, eating, showering, brushing, driving, talking to someone, becoming really, really in tune with all of those 5 senses while you're doing that activity. Could be a sport, could be yoga, could be anything really, So I guess those are the 2 ways of grounding yourself to the present moment with your senses.
So another follow-up question then. So what are some of the benefits that people experience when integrating this into daily practice?
Yes. So we can maybe go back to the overall benefits in general for mindfulness, which are stress reduction That's the biggest one that leads to a cascade of events for everything else. You have other benefits such as, you know, reducing the ruminating that you have in your day-to-day life. So rumination is when your thoughts are just going and going and going without really ending, and you're maybe caught on one kind of thought, which leads to a cascade, and you have these chain of thoughts in your head, and you start to tell yourself stories in your mind. And often those kinds of thoughts lead to emotions, and they lead to what we talked about, sometimes can lead to a negative stress cycle, leading you to kind of bring about these negative thoughts, emotions. Pretty much you're in a fight or flight state of being versus a mindful state of being, right? So a practice like this can really turn that around. It can activate your relaxation response, which is the opposite of fight or flight. And coming back to the present moment allows you to kind of act in a more constructive way rather than in a reactive way, right? So if you're experiencing a challenging situation that you might be in, maybe you're having a difficult conversation, or you just heard about some really, really devastating news or something really, really stressful and urgent, you can use a practice like this or any of the other mindfulness practice to kind of ground yourself, ground your mind and your body, so you can think a bit more clearly. So your response might be a little bit better than versus you had just reacted in that first instinct. So that's one huge benefit right up front of mindfulness and these kinds of practices in general. It also helps certain individuals that are having panic-like states. So this is actually a really good exercise for that. So rather than sometimes going to slow and deep breathing, which can actually sometimes cause people to start hyperventilating, you can rather use your five senses to ground you instead. And there's lots of research to back that up as well. It can help you with sleep. It can help you with, like I said, managing your emotions and your stresses as well. So those are some of the benefits. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I think so. That was great. So there's a few questions.
Yeah.
First one, yes, it certainly does. Thank you. That was great. That's Vidi. So what do people who are deaf or blind do? Because it's senses.
That's very, very interesting. Good question. So for those certain individuals, their other senses might be more enhanced. So let's say if they're unable to see, for example, then they might focus on the other four and might really focus a lot more on those specific ones, right? And again, it comes back to the concept of being non-judgmental of whatever you are experiencing, right? So for example, I work with lots of clients that have chronic pain, and some meditations I do with them require them to maybe stand up or maybe do a little bit of a walk or a little bit of a stretch that their bodies physically won't allow them to do. So I would give them a bit of a heads up that this meditation will involve this. You don't necessarily have to do it. And it comes back to the trauma-informed approach of mindfulness and meditation is setting up the meditation so there's room for flexibility and different ways of doing it. So if something is not working, you can easily do something else. So if the five senses are something that you're really, really struggling with, or you have a condition that just does not allow you to do that, then you can either go back to your breath or something that's a little bit easier for you to follow. So same thing in my practice, I give lots of options and a lot of flexibility in the way you can do that meditation.
Thank you. Yep, I think you answered that well. So we have a question about concentration. So if you're concentrating on hearing, How do you divert your focus away from a sound that is annoying to you and concentrate on a pleasant sound?
So that comes back to the non. So it's good that you've labeled that sound as annoying. I mean, that's step number one. That that is annoying, but um, trying not to react to that sound is the first step, and maybe gently diverting your attention to other sounds that might. They don't necessarily have to be pleasant, right? So if there's a really really annoying sound, or something that just is not allowing you to move forward in that meditation, maybe changing it to completely something different, maybe to your breath. Or if you are going to be practicing in that specific room or location, maybe next time finding a way to move away from that sound that might be really, really bothering you or triggering your meditation. But there are times where you can do this kind of practice anywhere, right? While you are waiting in line, for example, or you're outside and there's construction happening and there's just loud sounds. But training your mind, I guess it's you're doing it for the sake of doing it, because with practice you'll eventually be able to divert your attention a little bit better. Like I said in the first webinar, that it is a mental training. It's training your attention muscles. So the more you actually practice diverting away from one sound and coming back to another one, you're working your muscles of your mind, literally, and they change and they get better and better and better. So that's why people that have practiced meditation for a long time, they're very, very resilient. They can easily move away from something that's stressful and distressing, and they can gently divert their attention to something else. So I hope that answers your question.
I think there's just one more here,
Yep.
and this is a great question. Will meditation prior to bedtime result in more positive dreams?
That's a really good question, and I'll be very honest with you. I have not seen or read any literature talking about mindfulness meditation and dreams per se. So that's a really really good one. I might ask you to maybe email me so we can take this offline and chat about it. I can read it up as well. That's very fascinating. I've never been asked that question. So yeah, no, that's a good one. Why don't you email me and we can go from there.
Sure, that was an anonymous attendee who posted that. So
Oh,
maybe you could do research and then we
yes,
could answer it next week or in 2 weeks.
that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. Yeah, let's do that. And we'll write it down.
Sorry, I'm just copying and pasting. I'm trying to do multitasking here. Okay. And were there any? Oh, yep, we have. Another question from Vidi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Do you lead any ongoing mindfulness meditations throughout the summer, or are you aware of any organizations that do so?
Yes. So there are. I personally do mindfulness coaching. So I do one-on-ones as well outside of this. So I am doing up until the end of June. So I do one-on-ones with individuals that are interested. But there's a lot of organizations like Mindfulness Studies in Toronto. There's the Neuronova Center. There's a whole host. I hope I have it on here. Yeah, I don't know if I have it on this slide, but yeah, you may have to, if you do a simple mindfulness-based stress reduction in your community or your region, you're most likely, you'll be able to find someone that can lead or facilitate mindfulness. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
That does. I think, well, maybe with COVID, but I believe in Hamilton, there's a community of practitioners, and I think they used to get together at the MIP, but I might be.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's been a few years, because years and years ago, I did a mindfulness meditation talk when I ran a woman series, and I think there are a couple of people on. Oh, there's Mindfulness Hamilton. Yes, that's what it was. Yes, thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Yes. So maybe depending on where Vidi is, maybe they can look up that. Oh, the Unitarian Church on Dundurn used to as well. That's from Courtney. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of different organizations, to be honest, and it really depends on the city. There's lots of online versions as well. Like I'd mentioned, you'd have to first of all check if the person is certified, and all your background research as well, because there's a lot. Yeah.
Oh, good. They just found the mindfulness. But the question is, will anyone have as soothing a voice as you, Shrey?
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know about that.
Your voice puts me to sleep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I've been told that before.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No,
but
it is.
In certain situations, I guess it'll be a good thing. Yeah.
Maybe you missed your calling as a psychotherapist.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it's never too late. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there are any more questions. Any other questions that people want to type in? If not, then I think we'll end the evening, because it's almost 22, and hopefully everyone can join us again next week. Or what are we doing next week?
So next week we're doing breath awareness and first aid meditation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. First aid meditation.
We all need it. Yeah.
We certainly do in this day and age.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So
Well,
maybe we'll wrap it there. Yeah.
I think so. Thanks for joining us, Shrey.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone else. We have some thanks coming through on the chat. So thanks everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next week.